Hello and welcome to Genius Tea Time with Vanessa Hernández Cruz. Oh, I'm so glad you could join us. This is amazing.
Yay, I'm so happy to be here.
Like, when did we first meet? I was trying to figure that out.
Oh, that's a great question. It had to be 2021 because I believe I was just out of university and I had finished my dance film, Disability Not Ability. And you were the second, I think, exhibition where I submitted my work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it literally happened that year. Like my first, I did it for IQE. I think that's how you pronounce that amazing gallery.
Yes.
And then I saw your call. I believe you might have DM'd me. I don't remember. It was
I
something
mean,
along.
I was
Yeah,
reaching out to a lot of the, I'm not sure if it's like Hui or Ikui, but I know she just picked the letters at random to make the title, so we
I
can
love that.
decide.
I love that. Yes.
But that I just was so struck by your work, and I thought,
Mm.
"Ooh, this will be terrific." And we hadn't been starting to do films before in opulent mobility, so I
Oh,
was like, "This is what we'd done one," and I'm like, "Okay, let's do
okay.
more of that. This is
I
terrific."
love that. It's amazing.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. So that's when we met. Yeah, no, Opulent Mobility is such a amazing project, gallery. It's just been so beautiful to see it grow over the years, since I've been a part of it. So it's
thank
been
you,
amazing.
and been
Yeah.
pretty impressive to see what you've been doing as well.
Oh,
I
yeah.
But before we go dive in, let's give everybody an introduction to you. So, Vanessa Hernandez Cruz, she, her, ella, is an interdependent Chicana disabled dance artist, filmmaker, visual artist, poet, and an intersectional disability justice activist. Born and raised in the unceded land of the Tongva and Kizh people, colonial known as Los Angeles, in California. And she received her associate's degree in dance from Santa Monica College and BA in dance science from California State University, Long Beach. In late 2024, you were an Access Movement play artist in resident in New York. How
Yeah.
cool. In the summer, she was a virtual dancer for Kayla Hamilton's work, How to Bend Down, How to Pick It Up, that premiered at the Shed in New York City, and recently premiered her new experimental contemporary dance solo entitled Soul Seeker for the LA Contemporary Exhibitions Show on the boards in Seattle. In late fall 2024, Vanessa premiered in an evening-length piece at Highways Performance Space titled Void Decryption Error, where she launched a new performance modality by live streaming QBIPOC disabled dance artists with her on stage. How cool is that? I've loved it's a great space, especially a great space to do more experimental type work, I've found. But how are you figuring out how to do the live streaming? How did you work that?
Oh, amazing. I love that question. Yeah, it's wow, where do I even begin with that project? It was a budding idea of wanting to bring more disabled artists on stage that are less known, that haven't had the opportunity to perform. And so I was ruminating this idea of like, well, we have been um, really hard launching Zoom over the past couple of years since the pandemic. And I'm like, well, okay, there's probably a way to do it. I wasn't entirely sure how I was going to make it happen. But thankfully, through the California Arts Council and the Center of Cultural Power, I received their grant, Artist Disruptor Award in 2023, in the fall of 2023, to experiment and create this work. And so the process was really interesting. Um, I had a creative technologist support with a lot of the tech stuff for it. I pitched the idea to Alvaro Caceres, who did the a lot of the beautiful visual components of the work and was kind of behind the scenes making sure dancers were ready to be live and all the things. And so we figured it out together, and it's been kind of this new budding idea to continue that work and make it grow. Yeah, it's been kind of a passion project of mine to bring more disabled artists on stage. And we successfully did it. And right now we're working on a new project. Yes, yes.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, I recently got funding from the New England Foundation of the Arts for their National Dance Project production grant. It is one of the biggest grants that is in the dance field right now. And it is unfortunately their last round of funding. Yeah, yeah. So it was yeah, that was a grueling and exciting experience getting to navigate grant writing in that capacity. But we successfully did it. And yeah, and so now I'm really excited to announce that we are working on a new evening length titled Echoing Memories in a Distant Future, where it starts off with a duet with myself and Kayla Hamilton that then will weave into a bigger group piece with this time six queer, trans, BIPOC disabled artists on stage with us. Yeah, so I get to work on this over the span of the next 2 years and a half. So I have time, which is really exciting. It's so rare to have time to work on a dance performance. Usually, a lot of different kinds of grants or residencies kind of ask us to do a piece in like a couple months or like 2 weeks. So I get to now really dive deeper into the technological component, making sure it's more accessible for the artists um, and uh, and really just focusing on the rehearsal process as well. That I think I was beginning to explore more in terms of like weaving disability justice into a rehearsal praxis, and that has been really exciting. So I'm excited to develop more of that. Yeah,
That sounds amazing. And what
yeah.
what a terrific opportunity too. I'm so glad you have it. I'm so sad they're not going to be able to do it any longer.
Yeah, I'm sure they're currently working on figuring out other ways to support artists. I find that they've been really wanting to do more for artists, so that's always exciting. So it doesn't feel like a closed door per se, but for that specific grant, that's kind of their last one at the moment. But um, I'm excited to dive into that project. And on top of that, this is going to be really exciting for our listeners slash viewers. There's a community engagement component where where I am curating a set of workshops monthly, beginning next year in the spring. That's geared for the disabled community and artists, with the hopes of uh, so a lot of the workshops will be movement based, visual art, writing. So it's going to be a mixture of things in relation to the dance work. And through those workshops, we are planning to collect, if with the consent of the artist, whatever is created in that space for an exhibition that will be tied to the premiere of the dance work in 2027. So yeah, lots of
That,
fun things.
that's amazing. I'm so glad
Yeah.
you've done such a good job at finding like here, hire me. Come, you know you want to hire me. And I've been in awe of that. You're doing such a great job with it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's been challenging. I think, the reality is as an artist, like we have to put ourselves out there. We can't really shy away of anything, this is our work and this is who we are, and we have to keep pushing, especially in this climate that we're in. Um, yeah, and and this is to say that like I've received a lot more rejections than anything. And I feel that's true for a lot of artists, but I
Yes.
think more so when you're navigating different intersectional identities, the impact is a little bit more difficult and harder to navigate. especially in an art form that's very body based. For those who don't know, I do have a very visible disability. And so navigating the dance field has been challenging and grueling, and just needing to, surpass all the ableism that kind of pops up or seeps into different spaces. And yeah, so, for those out there listening, like just know that keep going, keep trying, like just really focus on you and your work, and the rest will follow through. Like, I think that has been really true in my journey.
Absolutely. What brought you to dance in the first place?
Yeah, I love that question. I think um, I fell in love with the stage when I was in elementary school. Because I did see my first, like, it was a talent show, but there was like some dance pieces, and I told myself I was going to be on stage. There was something about it that just felt like a calling at that time. And ever since then, middle school, I did a lot of freestyle, hip hop, kind of dance style. And I remember at the time, and it still unfortunately might be true, there were like dance programs after school, but the thing is that there weren't accessible school buses for after school programming, which really sucked because I really wanted to participate in some of the dance things that was happening, particularly in middle school. But then I doubled down in high school, as I don't know if this is still true, depending on where you're from, but I know PE was one of those like you have to take PE. And so I was able to swap out to take dance. And I was really fortunate to have my very first dance teacher be very open to having me in her classroom. Her name's Emily Quiz. Shout out to that amazing high school teacher. Yeah, she was very open to having me. Um, I created a lot of solos in high school, which is interesting. Personality wise, I get a little shy, and so thinking about, um, oh, hold on one second. Okay. Thinking about me being kind of a shy girly, like I did a lot of solos, which is so funny to me. I'm like, and so. Um, Yeah, I did a lot of exploring physically in high school, like how do I move and da 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 da. And Miss Quist, Emily Quist, she was very encouraging on how I can further develop my choreography. Um, yeah, and so I do remember being very intimidated by thinking about going to a dance program for college. Um, I secretly applied to a few out of state. I didn't tell anybody. 'Cause I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get anywhere or get in. Um, because a lot of the schools are very much audition based programs. And so, of course, I didn't get in. And so I decided to go to community college. I was very much uh into actually medicine. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna study to become a doctor. So I'm a science girly at heart. But I spent a couple years in community college, but life kind of happened for me where there's just a lot of hardships that were happening in my personal life that I couldn't keep up with the course material. And so I decided to say, hey, you know what? Let me go into dance because that's something I was still taking. I was still taking dance classes in community college. And so I'm like, let me just do it. Let me see what happens, you know? Um, and the beautiful thing about community college is that it's open for everyone and there isn't really an audition that you need to go to get like an A in dance. So that was in a way an advantage. Um, and so I went to Santa Monica College, did all my modern classes, ballet classes. They had a robust amount of world dances that I absolutely loved. And yeah, I got my A in dance and then I transferred over to Cal State Long Beach. Yeah. it's been an incredible, exciting journey. Yeah.
It sounds like it. And big ups to your teacher. I mean, obviously, sometimes early encouragement makes such a huge difference when you can have that. Was that something that your family supported you in?
Um, yes, I think, well, yes to what you were saying about having early encouragement, because I know that's not the case for a lot of dancers, most especially disabled dancers. Um, I'm just really fortunate and happy that I had that experience. I think my parents were like, "Oh, okay." I think at first they were very scared, for my
Mm,
safety.
mm,
Um, and I understandably, parents always want to be protective of their child, and they're very much that. But um they said, okay. I think it was um exciting for them to know that there was a dance teacher that was like, yeah, she should take dance and it'll be okay, and we'll take care of her and it'll be okay. Um and ever since then, shout out to my mother, Maria Silvia Hernandez Cruz, and my sister Nancy Cruz, who have been my number one supporters. And they also are my PCAs. So they are with me and have been with me throughout my dance journey and all the opportunities that I've been um, given. And without them, I wouldn't be where I am either. So they have been such a huge, huge support in my dance journey.
mm.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I'm just so glad for it. It was lovely to be able to meet your mom, actually,
Yes.
at the Brand Library exhibit. So Vanessa was part of the retrospective show at Brand Library and Arts Center, which was fabulous. And I can say that because I had so much help. It was delightful to have it.
Yes.
Oftentimes, I'm putting it up wherever I can, you know,
Mhm.
and have hosted it multiple places. So it's always lovely to have dedicated help to making
Yes.
it. And I think your piece was showcased so nicely and in a
So
good
beautiful.
space, but
Yes.
there's something about it in the if it can be showcased in good places, and if you can essentially cajole enough people into doing that,
Yes.
people will start to believe that, yeah, I can see that in my museum. Yes, I can see that
Mhm.
in my
Mhm.
performance space. And that
Mhm.
seems like something you have done pretty effectively with your
Mhm.
dance. I know you
Yeah.
did something with Red Cat. How was that?
Oh, yeah. That was through an application-based process. So
Hmm.
I applied like three times. My third time I made it through. And this is to show, like, you will get rejected a lot.
So many times.
And,
So many
so
times.
many times. Like it's the reality. And so I was in a place where I was like, I really want to explore technology and the ways that it weaves into our lives, and most especially those of us who have disabilities. And so I pitched the work for their new original work festival that they have yearly in 2023. Um, yeah, I got a phone call by Rolando, amazing human, and just said like, "Hey, we really loved your proposal, and we're excited to offer you a spot for the festival." And that was a really exciting news. I think I remember having a very emotional moment because that was kind of, I felt like I made it. I made it. Like I made it in such a robust and well-known festival in here in Los Angeles, and I'm sure abroad. And so um, I feel like the work that I performed over there was titled Excel Static in Health Fumes. And so this was, in a way, almost a full circle back to kind of my dance films like DNA, Disability Not Ability, where I was already playing with visual artwork, and integrating that into my dance practice. And so um, I will say that the amount of time that we had that year to make a piece was like a little under like 2 months. Um,
Mm.
it was wild. It was wild. And so um, it was chaotic because I was also finishing up a dance performance at the Odyssey Theater for their festival. So it was all like, ooh, it was a lot of work. Oh my God.
Yikes.
Um, but it worked out beautifully. For Excel static inhale fumes. There were 15 plexiglass um, frames that I used choreographically. And they represented our digital screens. And so they were laid out across the stage. I also incorporated a dance film, like the first 5 minutes of the work. And then it warped into this like in-person live thing. And it is still one of my favorite pieces to perform. It is very cathartic, very emotional, very fun to perform this work. Yeah, I also want to give a shout out to the folks who helped me make this work come alive, Keelan Stafford for the amazing music score, Robert Huerta, who did my costuming. It was a beautiful black holographic dress with a bomb leather long jacket that had like these blue tubes in the back. Oh, it's one of my favorite costumes. And yeah, and foundation contemporary arts also gave me a little funding for it to be able to pay some of the support, which was really amazing and exciting to get that kind of support. Yeah, so that was one of my favorite pieces. It was very much I made it moment, like, oh my God, like my work is finally being seen and appreciated and seen for what it is. And you know, one of the things I have always strived for in my work is to move away from uh, kind of this perspective of needing to prove that I can dance. Because well, I think there is a service to that, and I think for those who do that work, thank you. But I also think that I think we could start shifting away a little bit from that and really show our artistry and work beyond just trying to prove that we can do art, you know? Yeah.
Makes a big difference. I know that you've been working with Abilities Dance Boston recently, and I'd been
Mhm.
doing costuming for them for a while. Um,
Beautiful costuming, by the
Thank you.
way.
And
Yes.
on and off, but it's been such a delight. This is an adaptive dance troupe out of Boston, and Elise Patterson has similar like strong opinions about no, this is dance. You don't get to judge me based on what other people call dance or how it gets to
Yeah.
be chosen. How was it working with them? Because I know that was an entirely remote process.
Oh my God, yes. I I enjoyed it. I think it was become very in alignment to my work now since I'm live streaming dancers on stage. So it was fun this year to um work with Abilities Boston and Abilities Dance Boston in that capacity. I was a dancer for them, was it last year? It might have been last year. And so, so I kind of was a little already familiar with the process of how to navigate rehearsals and all the things. But yeah, I recently was a choreographer for them. Um, Let me pull up the long titles. I love long titles for my work, so give me a second. Um, do, 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 do. Okay, let me look through my Instagram. But yeah, it's been a really I love that they provide this form of access for disabled dancers and non-disabled dancers. Um, it's rare to see nowadays virtual work, let alone a virtual like rehearsal process. That feels very rooted in at least for them, like environmental justice with disability justice. So I think for me that was really exciting, and I learned a lot from that experience. Let's see, what is the name of my dance, y'all? When you're a dancer, where we have
So
so many
many
pieces.
pieces. It's totally okay.
It's titled "If Only." Oh, no, I just lost it. Oh wait, 1 second. Yay! Gotta love mine. Um,
So one of
where'd
the
you
things
go?
that
Yeah, go
abilities,
ahead.
no, no, one of the things that Abilities Dance Boston does is that they'll do themes of
Yeah.
their work. And so, for example, they did a whole series of intersections on banned books, and they did a whole series of on disability justice and intersectional justice, and a bunch of different topics that I figured might be right up your alley.
Yes. The title of the work that I did is "If Only We Could: A Ritual of Remembrance and a Call for Change." So this work was performed by soloist Greenhouse, a phenomenal dance artist, and I had the pleasure of working with them. And this work discusses, or at least represents, the ways in which, unfortunately, so many disabled folks don't make it through natural disasters. And really amplifying that in a way that brings some kind of realness choreographically. Then it kind of morphs into a ritual um, of remembering those who have passed on due to natural disasters. Um, this was kind of my first time doing kind of an experimental work on virtually. Because my work, I consider my work experimental, period. But in terms like virtually, like having someone do like an altar, have like within the process, I had Greenhouse write a letter to someone, or what would you say to someone who has passed on but didn't make it because um, the infrastructure wasn't there for them to be rescued. Writing words in pieces of paper, almost like little love notes to the souls that kind of passed on. And there's a moment in the choreography where um, Greenhouse has like all those words in a bag, and they sprinkle it around themselves as a way to commemorate them and send a message out to those souls that passed on. So yeah, it's one of my favorite pieces.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And activism is such like a core part of who you are and what you do with your dance. Is that something that started just as early as the dance?
Okay, that's interesting. I think hmm, inherently, I think when I was born with my disability, so I think inherently I had to navigate different discrimination and different levels when I was younger. And so we're for those of us who identify as disabled, like we are constantly needing to advocate for ourselves. Um, I do remember kind of feeling a resistance towards it, but realizing that I really need to double down for myself. And that's kind of a form of self-love and self-care. Um, and I think when I think when the pandemic hit and um, the Black Lives Matter movement was gaining momentum, I think was a time where I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm realizing I do have several privileges, and what can I do with that? And um, in some ways, I think the pandemic allowed for a lot of virtual workshops and presentations on experiences from police brutality to disability justice, climate justice. And so that's where I feel like I was like deep into the disability justice framework, and applying that to the way I wanted to navigate my work and my values as an artist and as a person. Um, and I think ever since then, I've done a lot of advocacy work within the dance field, to amplify marginalized voices and um, ensure that people are being held accountable to what they say they do on their websites and all the things. But that's a whole thing, and yeah, and so I'm really thankful to all the activists that I've been in community with, who I've learned from. Um, and I'm still going with it. I think if I'm not doing activism in a way that's very confrontational, I'm doing it in a way that's currently right now um, having pockets of what I'm calling like liberation, of like where I can create a space where folks feel safe to be in community with each other, either my rehearsal practice or performance practice, ways in which I weave accessibility within my work, like audio description, closed captioning, when funding allows, ASL interpretation. Yeah, so I think activism will always be something at the forefront of my work. But it's not all of it, if that makes sense.
Of course. I mean, please, I absolutely want to amplify that, especially when you are visibly disabled and from multiply marginalized identities. Having to advocate for yourself very, very, very early becomes a real thing. And that I can understand why maybe you wouldn't immediately want everything to be about that.
Yes.
But yes, it is sometimes it's so necessary. But I
Mhm.
love that you have found such a way to make it your own. And that's I think so crucial for people. That
Yeah,
yeah.
1,000%. Yeah, I think um well, it's not really controversial take, because I think a lot of people agree to this. Like, I think all art is political, right? Yeah, I think all art is political, even if my work wasn't rooted in disability justice, just me being on a stage is already political, right? Because we're so used to seeing non-disabled folks dominating the stages and the TVs and all of that. So inherently all things are political, but I think for me, um, understanding the politics behind it and the why allows me to better navigate the field a lot better. Yeah.
Absolutely. And yeah, a lot of times people's complaint about making it political, it's like all of it is political. You just may
Hmm.
not like the politics involved, or perhaps you don't like being called out by
Exactly.
it, is more often the case.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Period. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's just
Yeah.
been something that you've done really beautifully. I especially enjoyed with disability, not ability being the first um, artistic way I had contact, the work that you did with the description. So
Mm.
describing things well along with movement is not that common. I love that what
Yeah.
Abilities Dance does. I love that that's what you do. But describing that the motion in a way so that, say, a partially sighted or blind person would actually really experience it, or even somebody who's got attention deficit disorder, other varieties of things that might say, oh, I want to actually hear about how or read about how this movement is happening as well.
Yeah. Audio description has been a really exciting integration into my work. I began audio describing in 2020, 2021. Um, and I learned from various artists like Kinetic Light on like ways to do audio description. And it really is such a poetic way to integrate or have um, our blind, visually impaired, neurodivergent folks experience my work. And um, I've kind of grown attached to doing my own audio description. So when I did have the chance to commission someone to do my audio description, for example, exhale static, inhale fumes, I did introduce audio description into that festival, which is really exciting. Speaking of activism, here we are. And yeah, and you know, we kind of well, I wrote the audio description, Noelle Gomez did the voiceover for it. Um, yeah, and so like and for the new work that I did at Highways, no Noelle also did the audio description. But at this time I let them write it, which was a little hard. So I had to kind of like look over like, hey, how's it going? Yeah, that works. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm very much still ingrained in the process for audio description, regardless if someone else is writing it. Um, yeah, audio description is such a beautiful art form, I believe. I think it's an art form in and of itself, and it's amazing what you can do with it.
It's impressive. I mean, painting the picture with the words is really a wonderful thing to do. And it is such an eloquent way to do it. Is that part of how you
Yeah.
started considering yourself a writer?
Oh, yeah, my writing. Y'all, I do a lot of things. Yes, I do consider myself a writer. How did I get okay, funny thing. I actually started writing poetry at a very young age. Um, very young age. This is elementary school we're talking. And I didn't take it as seriously until like my dance career started, which is really interesting. Yeah, I know, right? Um, well, okay, yeah. A lot of my dance work does have text. Now that I'm thinking about it, like yeah, I have a lot of text in my works. I ooh, huh. Writing in a way, it's almost like the visual art for me. It's a way to ground myself in the theme and the work. And sometimes, and this is also for visual art, sometimes the writing comes first before the movement, or sometimes the visual art comes first before the movement. Um, for Excel Static, I remember doing the plexiglass frames first before I started doing the movement. And visualizing how I was gonna begin using these because at first I was like, how am I gonna use these? I have no idea. They look cool. And so my writing is very much the same. And so for that sound score, there is text. And so in conversation with Keelan, who did the music for it, um, we created prompts. And so I answered some of those prompts. And Keelan did such a beautiful job weaving my voice into the music score. Um, yeah, it just becomes a different portal within the work. Like each element that I decide to integrate is a portal into the work. And in a way, I also see it as a form of access, where like um, for those who don't necessarily understand dance, because that is a very real thing, or like who are new to watching dance, like some of the visual components and the words kind of ties everything together so that folks who aren't super versed can have some way of like resonating with the work or have a deeper understanding of what I'm trying to portray in the work. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That just makes it that much more full. I don't know. Um,
Yes.
Rich and complete, I guess, as it feels like
Yeah.
you've really thought about all of the elements very carefully and that you've designed them. Do you tend to think in terms of a total, or do you like work up component parts and then start building toward a total vision?
Hmm. I love that question. I think the root for me is trusting my subconscious. I think it's really like I'm gonna go back to Excel statics. I think that was my most mm, um interesting process because it was done in such a short time, and it's like, how do I get into the theme and like what is that, Um, and it really tested my process as an artist. Because I think at the time I was still trying to understand my process, like where am I going, how am I weaving visual art? Because it was my first time using visual art in a live performance. Well, technically second, but in that year, like it was like a first for a lot of things for me. Um, and so I was really relying on trusting myself and um and this idea of like crib time of like letting things just come to me even though there's pressing deadlines. They're pressing deadlines, y'all. And and sometimes to my detriment because I'm like, oh no, but and that's the thing. In in any field, any artistic field, like I wish there was more time in general, but I think for me it's it does come in parts versus like the total vision. Um, and I find that really exciting because it becomes a puzzle at the end. Because I'm like, oh, where am I going with this? Like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, there's the middle, beginning, and um my dance work is very structured improvisation. For numerous of reasons that I can get into. Um, and yeah, it's just about trusting myself, really pushing out the negative voices in my head. It's like just go in and do it. Like you know what you want to do. It's gonna come to you. Just grab that paint, grab the materials, grab what you're gravitated to. Sit down and write for one evening. Like it yeah, it's very much inherently trusting myself and not allowing myself to be pushed by external forces, if that makes sense. Sometimes, like, you know, um, as an artist, you're definitely navigating external pressures of like how you should be as an artist, especially when you're disabled, right? Because I think um you are constantly feeling like, well, at least for me, um, that I need to present my dance work in a certain way or a certain aesthetic. Um, and then that in part comes from my dance training. When you are a trained dancer, you are taught specific dance techniques, certain codified movements, and how choreography should be. And so I'm constantly fighting against the grain of that, which I find really exciting. But can be difficult at times because not everyone understands that. And so you really have to believe in yourself, y'all. You really have to believe in yourself and what your vision is for whatever art you're making. Um, yeah, yeah, that's kind of yeah. I don't know if I answered the question. I went all over the place, but here we are.
No, it does, absolutely. What what do you find most effective when you have to deal with the voices inside of your head being critical and miserable at you?
Um, I allow myself to uh have um feel it. I think feeling through it and allowing myself either to journal about it, to cry about it, to I don't know, rant to someone. I don't know. Um, yeah, I think the important thing, because I think it's very much about taking care about your mental health, period. And so really allowing yourself to feel it and not to stay there for a long time, I think is also where the part that gets a little hard because it's like, oh yeah, I should get out of this slump that I'm in and continue doing what I'm doing. So I do set up a timer. I'm like, okay, we're gonna cry for about 5 to 10 minutes and be all doom and gloom and then let go. Let it go. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you really just need to spend that time
Mhm.
because
Honestly, yeah,
it festers otherwise. It's like it
it
doesn't go
does.
away if you don't feel the
Mhm.
stuff.
Exactly. It doesn't go away and it just might get worse for you and we don't want that. We don't want that.
It just comes
Um,
back later and bites us in the
yeah,
worst possible way.
right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, just to allow yourself to feel. Um, Also for all the disabled baddies, like don't compare yourself to anybody. Don't ever do that. That's just gonna spiral you more. It's not good for you. We're all in our different, we all have different paths. And um I think early on I had to learn or accept, not learn, accept that ableism is something that we have to navigate through. It's something that unfortunately may not go away in our lifetime. That's just a reality, especially in our political climate. It really sucks. It really sucks. I hate to say that, but it's a reality. Um, in accepting that doesn't mean that you're giving up. It's more saying, okay, you know what? We are here to exist and we're here. We um we are going to continue existing because that's already an act of resistance, you know?
Absolutely. Like simply still finding ways to thrive in spite of the bastards is
Right? Yes.
is one of the true forms of resistance. But yeah, one of the things my old therapist would say is like, okay, where's this stuff coming from? Is it from you or is it from someone else? And if it's from someone else, what age are you? And I was like, wow, that's really
What?
profound. Like, what age are you when you're feeling like this? Where is that voice coming from?
Oh,
Like, are you,
mm-hmm.
what time of your life is that from? It's like,
Yeah.
ooh, okay. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's real.
but ableism is rough in it, and internalized ableism is super rough. So
Yeah.
every time you're fighting it, figuring out how you can learn from it is probably good to help,
Yeah.
I don't know, collectively for us to eventually get over this nonsense.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Yes, if you have the resources to have a therapist, do it. Yes. If you don't, lean on community. We are here. We are here. We're here to support each other. At least most of us are, I'd like to think. Um, you know, um, and yeah, allow yourself to feel your emotions. Don't let it bottle up. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the idea of setting a timer. That's like
Set
spot
a
on.
timer. Yeah.
Um, when did you discover that for yourself?
Um, Definitely when I transferred to my university, I think I was already navigating not so great mental health at the time. So I went through some pretty intense discrimination from one of my schools. And so I had to really double down on myself, especially if I wanted to get through um my university, right? And knowing that I was like the only visibly disabled artist there trying to get her degree. Um, I think that became such a important tool for me to be like, let me feel things through, like, and at the time, like it gets very lonely, especially when you're navigating institutions like that where you're kind of like the only one. It gets really lonely. And so, um, looking back, I do wish I had reached out to community more. Yeah, and I just wasn't finding the spaces for that at the time. Um, and it wasn't until I think, what was it, 2019? Yeah, 2019. I did the UCLA Dancing Disability Lab, where I met other disabled artists, and that was such a groundbreaking moment for me, where I'm like, oh my God, there are other disabled artists. They are also navigating the things I'm navigating. Oh my God, not everyone uh gone has gone through a dance program. There's very few of us who have. Um, and understandably, like I understand why, because it's like an intense experience having to go through that. And it requires so much mental strength to get through something like that. Um, yeah, so leaning on community, setting a timer up for yourself, like those are some ways that can help, especially when you're feeling alone, especially in like navigating your career. Like um yeah, there are people out there who are navigating similar things as you are. So yeah, not all dark.
And it does make such a big difference to know that you have community. I'm so glad you found it. That's
Yeah.
fabulous. That so through doing your work, you ended up finding the other people who are doing the work.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, it was great. Yeah. I'll never forget when I got into Cal State Long Beach because it was an audition-based program. Um, I remember DMing disabled artists that I knew of on Instagram saying, "Oh my God, y'all, I made it." But it was such a sweet and tender moment because at the time I didn't feel safe to announce it to the school I was at. And so in some ways I did have community, but I didn't really lean on them as much as I wish I did when I was in my uni. But that's one of my favorite memories of like receiving the congratulations, like the celebration, within those folks that I reached out to. It was really such a tender moment for me.
That's amazing.
Mm.
And so well deserved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I mean, after the fact, but
Yeah.
you've really done some truly amazing work. And it's a big deal. I think a lot of people don't recognize, especially if they're not in the dance world, how cruel it can be, honestly.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
to
Yeah.
find your own way is pretty profound.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I'm glad
Yeah,
you were
it
here.
is. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm glad I'm here too. I think yeah, find your community out there, folks. Like we're here to support each other. And it's beautiful when you do find your community.
One of the things that I really loved about doing was more recently working with you at the DCA, the Disabled Artists Cohort, and that was a really delightful thing to be able to co-collaborate with and like sharing community and setting up a community agreements. And you're really
Mhm.
terrific with doing that and building those online communications. I feel like,
Mhm.
is that something you developed a bit more of during height of pandemic?
I that's interesting. I think it is very much an intersection of things. My disability justice practice is definitely one of them. Learning from other amazing marginalized disabled artists and um, yeah, and also developing kind of my own movement per se technique that I'm calling cyber realms, where really thinking about how can we honor people's bodies and where they're at, meet them where they're at, and where they can have space to um, be creative and move however they want to move. And so um, the grounding that I do is that I did for the disability cohort was very much in alignment with the cyber realms kind of vibe, where like, you know, we really ground our bodies, our breath, and show appreciation to ourselves and to others in the space. So that always feels important. So yeah, it's a mixture of really all the things that I've done over the past couple of years. Yeah, it's been great. Oh, you're on mute.
Would you be willing to lead us in a grounding as we end?
Oh, amazing. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Take a moment. You're welcome to have your eyes open, slightly open or closed. I invite you to pay attention to your breath, inhaling and exhaling. Take a moment to think about things you're grateful for today. I invite you to place your hand over your heart if that feels comfortable. And as a gentle reminder, you are loved, worthy. Your importance here on this planet is necessary and important. And take a moment to thank yourself for being here today. And when you're ready, you can enter back into the space.
Thank you. That was
Mhm.
amazing.
Thank
And
you.
I'm super grateful for you and for getting to know
Mm,
you a bit better over these years. And thank you for joining us. Is there
yeah, thank
anything people
you.
should watch out for or pay attention to, places they can find
Absolutely.
you?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to be putting out a call for two things. The first one is facilitators for these workshops that I discussed. Um, that's coming out on Monday, so keep a lookout for that flyer. I'll have it on my Instagram and my newsletter. And then there is going to be a call for queer, trans, BIPOC, disabled artists to be in this new work, echoing memories in a distant future. And that is a long-term commitment. So more details on that coming soon. That announcement should come out somewhere between mid-November, early November. So keep a lookout for that. I did have a performance coming up at the Broad in Santa Monica. Yes, I'm super excited about it. Um, And that's through Santa Monica College, where I was a guest choreographer, but I'm also performing with those dancers. So come on out. That is November, I believe, 21st, nope, 22nd and 23rd. Let me double check 1 second.
And the Instagram is at Galaxies Dance.
Yes. Yeah, so the performance for the Santa Monica College is 22nd and 23rd at the Broad. And keep a lookout for that information on my Instagram. My website is galaxiesdance.info. You're welcome to learn more about me and my work. There's some video clips on there, some of my visual art on there as well, and writings. And yeah, thank you all for joining us. This has been a pleasure.
Awesome. This is terrific. And happy tea time.
Happy tea time.